it just keeps getting worse for the Dodgers. The injury woes have been plaguing the Dodgers since the beginning of the season. And we get into exactly the latest when it comes to injuries with the Dodgers in this edition of Dodgers Digest. Hey, this is Mike Nelson. Well, let's get right into the story. I'm talking about Evan Phillips. Evan Phillips, of course, has been out for a while now, and the Evan Phillips injury is now getting concerning, according to Dave Roberts. So this is obviously a big statement, to say the least. It's not every day you get managers, talking about injuries. And that's what happened with Dave Roberts. Manager Dave Roberts spoke on his reliever's injury and the lack of a timeline moving forward. Basically, no timeline for his return. This is what Dave Roberts said. Dave Roberts said, it's starting to get a little concerning. I don't know how long we could give it until he can attempt to start playing catch again. I'm getting a little bit concerned, but hoping for the best. And that's obviously not what you want to hear. I mean, this is like the worst thing you can hear when it comes to injuries, because when the player is injured, you want to see some progress, right? You want to see the team to start to talk about, dates where the player's going to start pitching or rehabbing or going to the minors. And it seems like with Evan Phillips, there's basically no timetable for his return, and now even Dave Roberts is getting concerned. Phillips was originally placed on the injury list for forearm discomfort in early May, but an MRI later revealed that the root of the problem was the inflammation in the elbow. No structural damage was found, but inflammation in the elbow is never a good thing. We've seen those elbow injuries with the Dodgers with various pitchers, and it's just obviously super concerning, to say the least. And the Dodgers need that relief help. I mean, they definitely need it. I mean, if you were watching today's game, look at Evan Phillips, had 63 strikeouts and just 17 walks or 54 innings pitched, and led the Dodgers in saves. Talking about, of course, last season with 18, stepping up as the semi-closer. He allowed just 3 hits in 6 innings of postseason work, but then was shut down for the World Series after he had a tear in his rotator cuff. So Phillips has been dealing with injuries even, during the playoffs. But this is now, elbow inflammation. It has nothing to do with the rotator cuff. So this is a completely different injury, and it's obviously something that's of concern. I don't know what everybody thinks out there. And, Evan Phillips is sorely missed. I mean, Phillips is one of the 14 Dodger pitchers who are currently in the IL. And, of course, a key part of the bullpen, it feels his absence. I mean, today the Dodgers, of course, blow the game against the Guardians. Tanner Scott was the guy that just didn't get the job done. I mean, we would like to have Evan Phillips out there right now to help out with this bullpen. In a handful of games in 2025, Phillips has yet to allow a run, throwing 6 strikeouts to 2 walks in 5 innings. So, he was solid for the little work that, Phillips did get this season. But it's been rough. The Dodgers are using a lot of bullpen pitchers right now. That is the main concern. We talked about this, earlier in the year. I mean, how is this going to be sustainable for the Dodgers? With all the injuries that they have, 14 pitchers on the IL, and today was evidence of that. I mean, Tanner Scott has been... let's get into the Tanner Scott situation. What does everybody think about Tanner Scott? I mean, this guy has been disappointing for the Dodgers. This guy was the top reliever in baseball last season. He showed it during the playoffs playing for San Diego against the Dodgers. And this season, he has been far from it, and the velocity is down. The velocity is nowhere near where it was last season for Tanner Scott, and that's obviously a concern. And, today was rough. The Dodgers had a 4-1 lead. They ended up losing the game. It's the bullpen. Wasn't able to get the job done. Clayton Kershaw was great today on the mound for the Dodgers. Had a great start. Probably his best start of the season. Against a good Guardians team. Of course, the Guardians were on the brink of getting swept by the Dodgers. It wasn't like the Guardians played too well against the Dodgers in this series. But, Dodgers, once again, the bullpen not getting the job done. And that's where I think the Evan Phillips injury becomes more important. And also the Blake Treinen injury. I mean, both of these guys are severely missed right now for the Dodgers when it comes to the bullpen. I don't know what everybody thinks out there, but I think the Dodgers need some bullpen help. They need to find some reinforcements. The question is going to be, are they going to have to make a trade come the trade deadline like they did last year, right? And that obviously helped out. That was a a win-win for the Dodgers getting Michael Kopech. So the Dodgers might have to do something like that again this season, right? They might have to go out and, get a bullpen pitcher to help out, because of all the injuries, right? I mean, that's obviously a concern the Dodgers are talking about right now because, like I said, Evan Phillips is one of those guys that I think the Dodgers would really want him, to be back soon for sure with the Dodgers. Now, let's talk about this next story. I'm talking about Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor, this past week, just what is it, 2 days ago, signed with the Angels for the rest of the season. And Chris Taylor spoke to the media about his time with the Dodgers. He said, obviously, I've been with the Dodgers for 9 years, but I do believe it was time, Taylor said. It was my time to kind of start fresh and hopefully turn the page and start a new chapter. I'm excited to do that here. And, Chris Taylor talking about, leaving the Dodgers. The Dodgers released him, was it 2 weeks ago? And it was basically a free agent, and the Angels picked him up. Now, what do I think of Chris Taylor going to the Angels? Well, I'm not surprised at all about Chris Taylor going to the Angels, right? I mean, it's not surprising one bit because, the Angels need players. The Angels are desperate to try to make the playoffs this season, right? I mean, even though it's not looking too good right now for them, especially with this latest losing streak, losing 4 in a row. But Chris Taylor could be that potential. He's going to be a utility guy for the Angels. He's not going to be like an everyday starter or anything. But he could potentially be somebody that could help out, their team, right? Now, I think Chris Taylor's being completely honest when he's speaking to the media here, saying, I think it was time, right? I mean, I think he's speaking from the heart here. I really think he's being honest, looking at that quote again. Being with the Dodgers for 9 years, but I do believe it was time. And I think he's being honest. I mean, the last couple years have been rough. Definitely was getting paid well by the Dodgers, right? It wasn't like he wasn't making money. Now he's not going to get paid anything with the Angels, right? With it $760,000, it's basically nothing in comparison to what the Dodgers have to pay him for releasing him. But, definitely I think the time was coming for Chris Taylor. The Dodgers were actively shopping him the last couple years and were unsuccessful. And it came down to this. The Dodgers had to basically release him, and he was free to go wherever he wanted. Now, somebody was going to pick him up. I'm not surprised somebody did pick him up. I mean, Chris Taylor still, despite having a couple down years, there was teams that were interested in it. And I think Taylor chose the Angels, right? I mean, he decided to stay in, California, stay in the LA area, and went to the Angels, right? So we wish nothing but the best for Taylor, but I did think it was interesting, him being honest with his statements there at the end, talking about, deciding that, it was definitely time. So definitely was interesting. As always, make sure to subscribe, and let's go Dodgers. Woo!